Welcome to Beyond the Coverage. I'm Chris Horner. This is Gent Wevelgem 2022. Now, by now, a couple days have passed, so we all know Wevelgem Gourmet from Intermarché, the Eritrean from Africa, won Gent Wevelgem, a world tour race in Europe, and won by a black rider. This is astounding. It is well-deserved. It's a spectacular victory and just history-making win. Never has a black person won a historic classic race up in Belgium or anywhere in Europe for that matter. And so for Wevelgem Gourmet to win here, it is massive for the world of cycling. Now, when you look at the race, when I break down the tactics, Intermarché were perfect throughout the race. At 80 kilometers to go, when there's a 20-man split, it's Wevelgem Gourmet there along with his teammate Pasqualone. They're both in the front group representing Intermarché, and this is perfect because it relieves all the pressure off of his team. Wevelgem Gourmet at this moment, he's not doing spectacular pulls with this group of 20, but he's doing what he needs to do, and that's the way you want to race your bike. You never want to do more than you have to, and certainly not more than you have to when you're in a group of 20 with all big riders from the European peloton. Now, when they reached the Kemmelberg the last time up, they did 3 passes here at Gent Wevelgem from different angles. So the last time up the Kemmelberg, when it was Wout van Aert attacking, this was another tactic that worked out great for Intermarché. They let Wout van Aert go up the road with the other favorites. They didn't panic. They stayed together in the group. They worked back there, and then they bring that group back, and with 24 kilometers to go, it's Christophe Laporte that throws an attack. Wevelgem Gourmet covers it. This was beautiful. Remember, when you look at the attacks from Wout van Aert before Christophe Laporte's attack, Wevelgem Gourmet is not in that move because that's not a move you want to be with. Being with Wout van Aert is not the move you want to go to the line with, but being with Christophe Laporte from Jumbo-Visma is. So he covers the move of Christophe Laporte. In that group, Van Gessel from Total Energies, along with Stuyvens from Trek Segafredo, all 4 of those riders will do what looks like on TV pretty even work. And then just under 1 kilometer to go, we'll see Christophe Laporte throw in an acceleration. That'll get him stuck on the front with the other 3 riders trying to abuse the Jumbo-Visma rider, Christophe Laporte. He'll go all the way to 250 kilometers to go. And then Wevelgem Gourmet, he is a sprinter. He launches a vicious attack from 4th position on the left side of the road, jumps to the right, and gets a gap on everyone. Christophe Laporte gets back onto his wheel, but cannot come off his wheel as the Eritrean rider from Africa wins a historic victory here at Gent Wevelgem. Now, when we put it in perspective, when we look at Wevelgem Gourmet's victory here, you can say, well, lots of riders win, he just won. But I'm here to tell you, I spent a ton of time in the European peloton. I was professional for 25 years. I was first over in Europe in 1996 when I was racing for Nutrifig, and I was racing with the national team doing the World Championships and some races up in Germany. Then in 97, I went over with FDJ, and I spent 3 years there, and of course went back with Lamprey all the way to 2014. So I can tell you, the field over there, the peloton over in Europe, it's white. It's really white. And so we need some diversity in there to help the sport grow, to bring in more love into the peloton, to bring it up another notch, to bring the professionalism of the pro peloton up. This win from Wevelgem Gourmet, I'm ecstatic about because when you look at what it could do to the sport going forward, it's not going to be next year, but 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, the sport can grow. When you start talking about instead of Europe being the only racing that can support professional bike riders, because I race times in the US, I have the Mercury jerseys up here, and of course I race for Saturn, Webcor. All those teams had such small budgets that you could barely call yourself pro at times, even if you were on the biggest U.S. domestic team there was. My time with Webcor, there was only 2 of us on that team that were paid a salary, and the rest were just racing their bike for fun. Now, when we get back to the European peloton, what does this change? It changes everything, because as you start growing the sport in Africa, as you start growing it in Asia, as it grows in the U.S., as the teams get bigger, the budgets get better, what happens? The professionalism gets more. With the money becomes better professional cyclists, And those professionals will always go over to Europe. Then when we're watching the Tour de France and you're watching Tadej Pogacar light everyone up and it's 2 weeks to go at the Tour de France and we already know Tadej Pogacar is going to win, now all of a sudden you have better quality riders because you have more diversity. More diversity means better, bigger pool of riders to pick the best riders in the world racing at the biggest, best bike races in the world. So when I'm watching Gent Wevelgem on the couch, watching Wevelgem Gourmet win a fantastic, historic, monumental win here at Gent Wevelgem, I'm ecstatic for what I think the sport can grow and how it can be. Because remember, when I first went over there in 1996 and in 1997 and all the years that preceded it, I can tell you for sure it's racist. It's just the way it is. It's way too white. We need more diversity in there. We need more cultures in there. It'll bring the sport up a level and it'll make the sport more beautiful in general. Now, that's my take on Wevelgem Gourmet. Congratulations, Wevelgem Gourmet. I hope you appreciated the win. I'm sure you do. I hope your family will appreciate all the love that I can send you here from Beyond the Covers. It was a fantastic moment in cycling. Now let's break down some other things that happened in Gent Wevelgem because this is Beyond the Covers. And I want to talk about, of course, Quick-Step. With Quick-Step, they took a beating in the race previous, E3 Saxo Bank, and got destroyed from Jumbo-Visma. I already on Beyond the Covers told you about the article I read with Casper Asgreen talking about how he has to figure out a different way to win and they need to know how to beat Jumbo-Visma. I gave him great ideas on Beyond the Covers, but he didn't listen to many of them as he was still way too aggressive throughout the race. Because here's why. When way back a month ago when it was Het Nieuwsblad, they got beat up from Jumbo-Visma. And then the next day, guess what? Quick-Step were back and they were winning with Fabio Jakobsen. Now we move a month forward to E3 Saxo Bank and Asgreen is racing too aggressive and getting beat up again from Jumbo-Visma. Go 2 days forward and we're here at Gent Wevelgem. Now with that team, when I look at Quick-Step, when I look at their tactics of how they did Gent Wevelgem, I don't like any of them really. When the racing begins at 160 kilometers to go, where I really start paying attention to the race, I tuned in at 200 and then skipped up to 160 when the action started getting a little thicker. It's Quick-Step on the front with Jumbo-Visma and with Alpecin Phoenix. I'm okay with this. It's not a catastrophic mistake. I wouldn't do it myself because I don't think Quick-Step are in that position where they need to be riding the front with Jumbo-Visma after the beating they took from Wout van Aert the day before, 2 days before that. But okay, small mistake. The big mistakes start happening at 106 kilometers to go when it's Bahrain Victorious that takes the front and then there's crashes back there. Now at 106 kilometers to go, Quick-Step should have already been on the front instead of Bahrain Victorious if they're going to pretend to be the Wolfpack. Now we all know they're not because it's Bahrain Victorious on the front and not Quick-Step. When I show you the pictures before we get into that 106 kilometers to go, it's Quick-Step and they're spread out throughout the peloton and Fabio Jakobsen's by himself. Now let me remind you guys all that at Het Nieuwsblad, when they got a beating from Jumbo-Visma's Wout van Aert, the next day at Kuurne-Brussels-Kuurne, it was Fabio Jakobsen, the best sprinter of 2022 in my opinion, that won and took back some pride for Quick-Step. Now when we get here, do they race at this moment before 106 kilometers to go? Are they racing for Fabio Jakobsen? I don't think so. In the meeting, if I was the director, I would have said immediately that everybody on the team is to look after Fabio Jakobsen because you know you can't win with Asgreen. How do we know Asgreen can't win? Because he didn't win at Het Nieuwsblad and he didn't win 2 days ago when we're talking about E3 Saxo Bank. So why is he going to be able to win here if he doesn't have the wolf pack around him? Remember, Asgreen's victories last year at Flanders in the semi-classics, that victory became because the wolf pack was everywhere. Julian Alaphilippe was there. The whole Quick-Step team was fabulous. But now we know Quick-Step has been sick, they've been injured, and they're not riding on full force because they just took a beating at E3 Saxo Bank. So when we're looking at this race, 106 kilometers to go, it's Bahrain Victorious on the front. And in my mind, it should have been Quick-Step on the front at that point in time before we start getting into all the bergs that are going to light up this Gent Wevelgem. There's more mistakes to come though. When we get to the Kemmelberg, Quick-Step is lighting it up before the Kemmelberg, and it's Casper Asgreen's second wheel as his teammate goes in too hard into the left turn and crashes into the fencing. At that point in time, when I'm going, sitting on the couch, I'm going, where in the world is Fabio Jakobsen? The number one sprinter in the world is not at the front with his quick step teammates. And then on top of that, he's not there. As they're going up the Kemmelberg, it's Casper Asgreen that's throwing in attacks on the front, setting the pace with Wout van Aert following behind. We all know my take on that. You don't pull Wout van Aert up the cobblestone climbs. That's rule number 3 here on the butterfly effect and beyond the coverage. Now, Casper Asgreen does one thing that I liked, and it was beautiful, and I said he should be attacking along the flats last time you were here beyond the coverage. When that group of 20 go up the road, Casper Asgreen jumps across. That was a great move. The next bad move, though, is when Casper Asgreen's in that group of 20. To my eyes, it looks like he's doing most of the work up there, and it doesn't need to be that way. Just rotate through Casper Asgreen. You don't have to be the superstar in a group of 20, especially when you have Fabio Jakobsen in the group back there. Now, when I'm looking at everything happening from Quick-Step, again, Fabio Jakobsen is always left on his own, and I never see teammates around him at any point in time. We saw the crash just after 106 kilometers to go, whereas Florian Seneschal crashed, so that is one Quick-Step rider out. We saw Quick-Step riding on the front early from 160 kilometers to go, so you know that's 2. We're going to see another Quick-Step rider. He's going to have a bike issue on the side of the road. That's 3. So who's left there to look after Fabio Jakobsen when you got Casper Asgreen going up the road and teammates that are leading him out to the Kemmelberg? There's nobody left to help Fabio Jakobsen, the best sprinter of 2022. On top of that, the second pass of the Kemmelberg, again, it's Casper Asgreen on the front. Not only does he attack up this climb, which let me remind you guys, again, you have the best sprinter of 2022, Fabio Jakobsen, at the back of the group while Casper Asgreen is flying up the road. Not only is he putting more pressure on the best sprinter in the world that happens to be his teammate, but he pulls on the front with Wout van Aert on his wheel for 2 kilometers before he finally comes off the front, and we'll see Wout van Aert come through in the picture. Then, last time up the Kemmelberg, third time to go, Wout van Aert lights it up. At this point in time, Casper Asgreen is up there again, but he's attacked so many times, he's been so aggressive that he actually has to bridge the gap back up to Wout van Aert, which he does. Just hop off the front. There's many teams in this race. You don't have to do everything here at Gent-Wevelgem in order to give your shot at the win. It's just the opposite. You want to do the minimum, just what's needed, and if possible, the whole Quick-Step team should have been looking after Fabio Jakobsen. Now, when we get down to the finish, we'll see Quick-Step all back there. 3 guys in the front move with 4 guys up the road. Biniam Girmay up there. Christophe Laporte. Van Gessel is there from Total Energies. Trek Segafredo Stuyvens is up there. And 3 Quick-Step riders at the back, and none of them are riding the front. I'm sure they're on the limit, but when you're in that group, you just got to go to the front and sell out. At that point in time, if you didn't race for Fabio Jakobsen, which I believe you should have, but that plan has already been erased from the board. If you're not racing for Fabio Jakobsen, get to the front, do one pull, and blow yourself up and drop out of the group. But you got to do something up there to catch the 4 leaders that are going away with 25 kilometers to go. Instead, they won't, and they come out of Gent-Wevelgem with nothing on the board. When I believe if the plan had been from kilometer 0, Fabio Jakobsen is our guys. Can you imagine guys sitting at home on the couch if you have the full Quick-Step team that's looking after Fabio Jakobsen from 106 kilometers to go when the crucial moment and all the splits and crashes were happening, if it was Quick-Step at the front with Fabio Jakobsen on the wheel? If you're coming into the Kemmelberg, instead of attacking, if you're leading there with Fabio Jakobsen on your wheel and you lead him up that climb when the splits happen, you're talking Casper Asgreen follows the attacks instead of making the attacks, and then the rest of the team stays with Fabio Jakobsen, always closing the gaps at a smooth, steady pace. The last time up the Kemmelberg, if the group hasn't already gone and Wout van Aert throws in the attack, which we all know he's going to, that's when Casper Asgreen has to, instead of go with Wout van Aert, stay with Fabio Jakobsen, keep it steady up the Kemmelberg the last time, and then close gaps for Fabio Jakobsen so that he can light up the sprint here at the end of Gent-Wevelgem and bring that pride back to the Quick-Step team. But none of those tactics were used. Fabio Jakobsen was left isolated. Kasper Asgreen, you raced absolutely the identical way that you did in E3 Saxo Bank, and you guys ended up with basically the exact same result, not the win. So that is my take on Quick Step. Now let's go into Jumbo-Visma real quick because I want to point something out, and I know the video is getting long. Jumbo-Visma were a bit more aggressive than I like to have seen, but okay, I can live with that. The team is dominant. They're fantastic. At 24 kilometers to go, when it's Christophe Laporte throwing in the attack, I like that move. When I look at that move and I look at that group of four, Biniam Gourmet up there, Stuyvens up there, Van Gessel up there, and Christophe Laporte, I like that move of Christophe Laporte in that group. I'm okay with that. What I don't like when you go back to the group of the peloton, I don't like that you see Jumbo-Visma up there trying to deter the chase from taking place of catching those guys. Because if I'm the manager in the bus before the race started, I like the team being aggressive, but I still want Wout van Aert to be in the front of the group. That's why you're paying him the big bucks. That's why he's being paid the millions, because he wins races, okay? That's why you want this group to come back. You want it to stay out there for a bit so that everyone gets tired and the racing stays fast and aggressive. It gets brought back, and then Wout can counter and get in a smaller move that he can go to the line with, that he has a better shot at winning. Or you want the group to come back and Wout van Aert can win in a sprint, right? Now, with 1.1 kilometers to go, I want to show you a picture. It's right before the Flamme Rouge. And what happens there, it's Trek Segafredo Stuyvens that opens up a bit of a gap, and it's Van Gessel that he makes have to close that gap at the back. And now the camera goes back to the Flamme Rouge picture there, and then we come back to the group of four, and we see Christophe Laporte attack it. It looks like on television that he's attacking from the group, and all the commentators are saying, oh, this was a bad move. It got him in the front of the group. It did get him in the front of the group, but it wasn't necessarily a bad attack. All it was is on camera, we missed that gap. Back there when Stuyvens opened up the gap, wanting to be last wheel going under 1K, when they open that gap and we miss it, what Christophe Laporte, I'm sure what he would have saw is a small gap open up, a hesitation for anyone to take his wheel. So he threw in a small acceleration to see if it can work. That was okay. He went from the left side of the road to the right side of the road with his big attack. Now he's in first position there, and now he's in trouble because it's 900 meters to go. But here's the thing. He's not really in trouble. And this is why you tune in to my channel here on Beyond the Covers, is for these small little tactics that they miss. When he's there with 900 meters, Christophe Laporte, you made a mistake. I don't mind the attack at 1.1 kilometers, 1K to go. But at 900 meters, you forget Christophe Laporte. You got another card to play, right? He's at the front. He can't lead it out from 1.1K to go all the way to the finish line. But he can sit up, because you have Wout van Aert in the group behind. And that's what nobody brought up to you guys. That's what they forgot. That's what the announcers forget. That's what the cycling article writers forget. That's what all the people that you read in cycling forget. That at 900 meters, Christophe Laporte, you got a B plan, and it's a really good B plan because it's Wout van Aert. So at 900 meters, when they won't come off your wheel, Christophe Laporte, you look back to them and you look them straight in the eye and you say, I got Wout van Aert back there. I don't have to do anything. And you stop pedaling. For the love of the cycling gods, stop pedaling. Instead, it's Christophe Laporte going from the right side to the left side to the right side, back to the left side, 400 meters to go. You see the peloton right behind. Soren Kragh Andersen's in between those guys, getting ready to close the gap. You gotta know at this point in time, Christophe Laporte, you got Wout van Aert back there, but you didn't play the Wout card. Instead, you let it out from 1.1 kilometers to go all the way to 250, and then Biniam Gourmet takes a historic victory here at Gent Wevelgem. This was a fantastic race, and I spent 10 hours breaking this race down. I hope you guys appreciate here on Beyond the Coverage and the extra information and the extra strategies I'm giving you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe, and make sure you tell your friends to like and subscribe and about the channel so we can blow the channel up. And then if it gets really nice and big, I'll get you out of my fireplace. But for now, all I'm bringing you is fantastic cycling content, strategy, analyzing races, and that is my gift here on Beyond the Coverage, and of course the butterfly effect. So like and subscribe and tell your friends to do so, and I'll see you guys on the next edition of the Butterfly Effect.